Okay, back to it. Got our tools back here. We're still working on setting back that forehead just a little bit more. Again, I deliberately left it big, and I deliberately did not move it back because the more I undercut the bottom of the hat, the weaker it gets. So I got to be careful with that. I want to make sure I'm not making it so weak that when I push on it any other time, it's going to break off. So we're just continuing. Move that forehead back. See how far back we are now? We're back a little bit more. And now we can continue moving that. I'm going to redraw center line. And I'm going to redraw that eyebrow. Taking my gouge, and I'm just going to go straight in. I don't want to go all the way across the bridge of the nose yet. I want to go across in a big pattern. Big pattern meaning I'm using a big tool and I'm just trying to get the general idea of where it's going. Can you see that? I want to see where he goes in terms of where the eyebrows go. I'm going to switch to a smaller one, and I'm just going to dig that out a little bit more because we're still going to move that brow back just a little bit more. That does two things. It makes it look like the hat's sitting on the head, not right on top, and it makes the nose stick out even more. So when I go to remove the dental mound and I remove the cheeks around the eyes, around the nose rather, I'll be able to stick that nose out. I want to separate that right there, right in between, right up above the nose. Let me give it that shape right there. And let me take a little bit of that off. It moves that forehead back a little bit more. Okay. All I want to do is come up with that small gouge and go right up side of that nose. What I'm doing is just separating that nose from the rest of the face and outlining the cheeks. See what I'm trying to do? Giving him cheeks and a nose profile. I didn't go as deep on this side as I did on the other one. Okay. Even them up on both sides. The sockets, I mean. And then we'll take off these sharp edges right here. I'll just take my knife right up side of that cheek, because we're going to be coming around and taking out even more, just a little bit. Starting to separate that nose. I'm going to take off the corners of the nose. I got a corner right there and a corner right there. I'm going to just go straight in, not too deep. Take off that corner. Straight in again, not too deep. Right on that corner. This one's not even with that other, so I'll take a little bit more because I didn't follow my lines. It's one of the reasons we draw lines, so we can follow that. So the nose is starting to get a little bit of a shape to it. What I am going to do now is extend the eye sockets out, because when you get out to the edge of the eye socket, it goes, that roundness goes all the way out to the temple. And if you're looking at human anatomy, the temple mound has an indentation. For most of us, that's where our glasses sit. Glasses go, the glass eyepiece, the part that sticks above your ears, goes all the way out through here. And so that's why we always say in caricature, you should make sure those eyebrows are at the top of the ear and the nose is at the bottom. We can switch that a little bit in caricature. We can have a little bit of fun with that. It's not that crucial. But just remember that when you're doing caricature, you can play around with all kinds of symmetry. You still have to have some symmetry. You can't have one eye much bigger than the other unless you mean for it to be that way. So if you want one eye squinting and one eye wide open, you can get by that way. But if they're wide open and one's bigger than the other, people are going to look at that and say something's not right. They may not know what's right or what's wrong. They're going to say that. So anyway, we got the rough shape of the face. He's got a real fat jowl here. We'll take that out in just a little bit. Let's shape up that nose. I'm going to take my knife and lay it right flat with the cheek and go straight up the side of the nose. What I'm doing is trying to get that triangular shape to a nose that it has. If you don't believe me, look at your nose in profile. You have a triangle. Your nose is a triangle here, here, and here. And if we follow that symmetry, everything looks okay. So I'm going to outline those lines I just put in because I want to outline that nose. I want to move things back a little bit more. And I've separated that nose out a little bit. Now let's add a few more details. Where I cut it in a while ago to give the shape of that corner of that nose, take off that wood on the side, right there. And we'll go back in with this gouge right here, and we'll give it some shape. I'm going to go shape the top of that nose, and then I'm going to shape the eye socket down to it. What I'm creating is if you look at your eyes, the deepest part is where the tear duct is. And so if we aim this up there towards it and go down to it, we have the eye socket that's looking a little more like an eye socket. I did not take the same amount on this side as I did on that other side, so let's do that real quick and give that nose a little bit of a shape. Still didn't take enough off there. There we go. All right, let's draw in some smile lines, laugh lines if you want to call them that. We still got some cleanup to do on the nose. We're going to draw in those laugh lines. It'll help us outline the dental mount because we're real flat around the bottom, and what we want is more of a V shape. We want it more V shape coming down here. So what we'll do is we'll just cut in those lines. I'm just going to do a fairly deep V cut, or a stop cut, straight down in that cheek. I'm going to do another one right here where the nose is, just on the side of that nose. And then if I take out that triangle, we talk about carving faces as a series of triangles. See that triangle right there? I'm going to take that out. Again, knowing where the tip of that knife is, I don't want to get up in here. I want to be down there. Look at that. Let's do that on the other side. That's the interesting thing about carving faces is you can't just work on one area without taking into consideration every other part of the face. If you do that, pretty soon you're going to end up with a very deep area in one side of the face and a shallow area in the other because you have not taken into consideration how the face works together. Every feature on the face is tied to each other. It's got muscles and cartilage and bones and sinew and everything that ties it all together. And this one isn't at the same angle, so I'm going to go back just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. Now, what that's going to give me, since this face is so narrow, what I'm going to do is take some off the back. So right below that ear, I want to just start taking off a little bit of wood. And then I'm going to go across almost to where the hole is, almost to where the it helps it sit on your face a little bit better. We'll take off that little bit of wood there, right below the ear. Sorry, I keep realizing I get above the camera. We'll do the same thing on the other side. We're just going to take off that wood right below the ear. It separates the ear and the sideburn. And then what we want to do is trim the side of that face. Got to leave in enough wood so that I leave him a little bit of a goatee there. I got to carving and almost forgot that, so better leave enough in there. Trimmed out his face a little bit. This might give you a little bit fatter guy. We're gonna put in his goatee right here. Mouth is going to go somewhere right here. Okay. Still want to trim him down a little bit, make him a little bit skinnier. Reach back behind me. I'm going to grab the fishtail gouge. If you don't have a fishtail gouge, you're missing out on one of the premier carving tools there are. This thing, and they come in different shapes and sizes, widths and profiles. This thing is very useful for doing things that they find hard to do with a knife. I know for me, when I first started carving, holding that knife for hours on end got to be real tiring right up here in the arm. And when I teach carving, there's a lot of people that do this for a couple hours and then they say, I can't grip that knife anymore because number one, it's slick, and number two, it's hard to hold on to. Well, so I show them how to use a fishtail gouge, because now you're holding it in your hand, but you're not gripping it quite so hard, because now what's moving is your shoulders moving in and out rather than your arm in and out. And so for me, it's a lot easier for me to teach people how to use a fishtail gouge than it is to teach them how to use a knife, especially when their hands are given out. Now, the more you use it, the knife, the easier it's going to be. But at some point, you have to realize that not everybody has a lot of arm strength in their forearms and can grip that for a very long period of time. So we have a tendency to just kind of muscle through and tell everybody just, suck it up, buttercup, whatever you want to do. But in reality, I talked to a young lady at the gym the other day. She had come carving with us for a little bit, and then she had to give it up because her forearms were bothering her. So, we gave her some exercises to help her figure out the best way to strengthen that forearm so that you can continue carving, because you don't want to start a hobby and find out that you really love it and then find out that it's painful. Whatever that is, wherever the pain's coming from, it's hard to get past. I'm going to take a V-tool and I'm going to outline that goatee right there. We'll trim everything to it because the dental mount is really fat on this particular carving, and we don't want him to be that fat. So anyway, we're at 12 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and we'll stop this video. We'll pick up on the next one, and we'll talk to you later.